I ain't really wanna be moving when it's wartime. Niggas love the clout chase, that's the shit they glorify. I don't even try hard, this gangsta shit immortalized. No records of a trace when your crime is organized. No man is over me, I'm high in the morning time. Low key in the birds when I cross the state borderlines. Spin your block and horrified. Fuck your bitch, you mortified. I'm standing where you draw the line, nigga, hold the line. My nutsack, I'm grabbing mine, both of mine, quit holding mine. You gon' get this work and some overtime, you know the vibe. Little nigga, you know it's me. I don't need them to notice me. When conflict get crucial, I can't help but do them bogusly. Smoke you like a stogie, beat you like you stole from me. Niggas out of body, put you back where you supposed to be. I shoot at you waking in the moment, niggas toast for you. My niggas do the most for me. That's what they supposed to. I want all the smoke, nigga, cut the shit you think you bad enough, you test. And you know how I'm coming, I ain't ducking nothing. You know when I pull up on your block, it's bustin'. You know how I'm coming, if you came with me. You know what's going, stop playing with me. I want all the smoke, nigga, cut the shit you think you bad enough to test. And you know how I'm coming, I ain't ducking nothing. You know when I pull up on your block, it's bustin'. You know how I'm coming, if you came with me. Gang, you know what's going, stop playing with me. Real gangsters move critically when they shit get critical. No peace amongst enemies, no pity for the pitiful. Real nigga down to the bones and the minerals. Stick to the G code, I never told another soul. True to the literature, now salute the general. Keep
Hey, get the party going.
I ain't really wanna be moving when it's wartime. Niggas love the clout chase, that's the shit they glorify. I don't even try hard, this gangsta shit immortalized. No records.
You get to choose how you treat me.
Yeah, though. I am though. What's good? What's good? Where my kids at? So. Shalom, what's good? What's good? What's cracking? Yes, I know we see the title. We're gonna get right into it, right? God saves and fight for his people, right? And we already know who his people is, the Black, Hispanic, and Native American people, right? So yeah, we're gonna get right into it, right? So of course, we seeing what's going on and stuff like that around the world and stuff. We still covering this coming war that's coming. And we're just watching prophecies and stuff and preparing ourselves spiritually, and getting an understanding on what the Most High is expecting us to do, right, in these days. So of course, giving all praises to the Most High God, Yahweh, and we do so in His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, who the world knows as Jesus Christ, right? First and foremost. So let's get into it though. So we're gonna start right Let's go to Zechariah chapter 2. Let's get right to it. Zechariah chapter 2. So, but, so, because understanding that, God got a plan for his people, and, he want to save his people in this coming destruction and all the stuff that's going to take place, right? And so we're going to get a glimpse of, what that look like. Then it says, we can start at Zechariah 2 in verse 6. Then it says, Ho, ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north, said the Lord. For I have spread out abroad as four winds of the heavens, said the Lord. Right? So it's telling his people to flee out of the land of the north. And we know the land of the north is these Americas, right? Babylon, mystery Babylon. It says, and those four winds, let's talk about, of course we went over this talking about the four spirits that govern the earth, right? And so, and so he said, as spread you abroad as four winds of the heavens. So basically saying that he has spread us, throughout these, all throughout the earth, right? And we are, through slavery, the slave trade, sub-Saharan slave trade, the Atlantic slave trade, war, conquest, etc., right? It says, deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwelleth with the daughter of Babylon, which is here in America. It says, deliver thyself, right? And we deliver ourselves by keeping the law, statutes, and commandments in the faith in the Mashiach Yahushua. And it says, for thus said the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations, which spoil you. For that he that touches you touches the apple of his eye. So, like I said, God is gonna get with these nations that had a hand in our downfall and our destruction as a people, right? Because it says, he that touches you touches the apple of his eye. And the apple of your eye is whatever you desire the most, whatever you love the most, whatever you put on the pedestal. And the Most High God put his people on the pedestal, and he loves us, right? And it angers him when people mess with us, right? And it says, behold, I will shake my hand upon them, and they shall be spoiled to their servants, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh of hosts has sent. You should know that the Yahweh of hosts has sent me. So, and again, we see that with these protesters rising up, these people, everyday people getting mad and upset with their government and all that stuff, and pretty soon there's going to be a uprise, right? Like we're seeing in a lot of these nations. That's why it says. That's why it says. It says. Where that boom boom boom. It says, behold, I will shake my hand upon them, and they shall be spoiled to their servants. Meaning, they're working class people. They're, like I said, a common citizen is going to be in an uproar, and they're going to want to try to, go into that rich man's house. Go and fight against the government and all that stuff because of, the separation that the government is creating amongst the people. And it says, thus said the Lord of hosts, after the glory he has sent me unto the nations will spoil you. For he that touches you touches the apple of his eye. Behold, I will shake my hand upon them, and they shall be spoiled to their servants, and ye shall know that I am the Lord of hosts sent me. So the Most High God said, when you start seeing these nations tearing up their country and fighting against their government, just know that the Most High God told you it was going to happen, and they doing it because I'm causing them to do it, and I'm doing it for your benefit because of what they have done to you. Right? Hold on. Hold on 1 second. All right, so let's get boom, boom, boom. So let's get let's jump. No, just boom, boom, boom. Then it says sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for lo, I had come and I will dwell in the midst of thee, said the Lord. And that's because He is the God of Israel, and He's going to come and dwell with us, and we finally going to have that peace, right? Let's get this real quick. It's Amos 3, right? Amos 3, and it says this. Amos 3 and 1. It says, "Hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel." That's us. "Against the whole family which I brought up from Egypt, from the land of Egypt, saying, You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for your iniquities." So the Most High God saying He's only dealing with us out of all the people on the earth, right? So, so when it says over here, it says, "Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion. For lo, I come and I will dwell in the midst of thee, said the Lord." So He's going to dwell in the midst of us, right? Because He is our God. Let's get. So before we get over there, let's jump over to chapter 6 real quick. So let's go to chapter 6 and verse 6 in the same book, Zechariah, and it says, the black horse which are therein go forth into the north country, and the white go forth after them, and the drizzle go forth towards the south country. So again, so we had covered this before. These are 4 different spirits that influence the world and countries, people to do things. So now this black horse represents slavery, right? And the white horse represent conquest and war. So, and that's what they did when they came over to this side. They made war with the Native Americans and the other Native people that was on this land in the Caribbean and in the South Americas. And then they brought slavery with them. When they took us from the west coast of Africa and brought us over here, Christopher Columbus took, the Tainos and brought them over there and all that stuff, right? So the black horse represents slavery, the white horse represents war and conquest, right? So, and it says the black horse which are there go forth into the north country, and the white go forth after them, right? So that's why it says over here in chapter 2, Zechariah says, "Ho, ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north, said the Lord, for I have spread you abroad as the 4 winds of heaven, said the Lord," right? So, like I said, so we've been spread it through conquest, slavery, and so forth, right? So, but the Most High God is telling us, okay, look, you guys got to come back to, the law, statutes, and commandments, all right, you've been spread it there, but, now it's about to get ugly. I'm about to come and judge the place. And if you don't want to get part of that judgment, then y'all need to, get with the program, right? Let's go back over here. It says, back to chapter 2 in Zechariah. And it says, "Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for lo, I come and I will dwell in the midst of thee, said the Lord. And many nations shall be joined to the Lord, in that day, and shall be my people. And I will dwell in the midst of thee, and thou shalt know that the Lord of hosts has sent me unto thee," right? So, and that's what's coming. So it says, "Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for lo, I come and I will dwell in the midst of thee, said the Lord. Right? And like I said, that's a glorious thing, right? We should, take relish in that understanding that He is our God and He's gonna come and He's gonna be with us and we're gonna finally have that peace on earth as a nation, right? Let's get Isaiah real quick. Let's get Isaiah 14 and 2 real quick. And it's saying, start at 1. Isaiah 14 and 1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Right? So, like it said over here, that many people should be joined with them. Right? And they're going to be joined with us. Right? Because it says, the stranger should cleave, the stranger should be joined with them, and they should cleave to the house of Jacob, and the people should take them and bring them to their place. So we're going to take them and bring them to our place, just like they brought us to their place, whatever that may be, England, France, the Caribbean islands, America, all these places they shipped us off to during slavery. So we're going to bring them to our place, right? And the people should take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel should possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and for handmaids, and they shall rule over them, and they should take them captives, who captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Right? That's God's plan. God's plan. Right? That's His plan. Right? So it says, and many nations shall be joined to the Lord in that day, and shall be my people, and I will dwell in the midst of thee, and thou shalt know that the Lord of hosts have sent me unto thee. Right? So we prophesied about this, because we, and when we start seeing this stuff unfold, we're gonna know that the Most High God told us this was gonna happen. Right? Let's get Isaiah 60 and 12. So Isaiah 60 and 12 says this. Let's start at verse 10. So it says, so again, like I said, those other nations will be with us, right? They're going to be there. The ones that survive after World War III, Armageddon, right? The survivors of these nations. And it says, the sons of the strangers shall build thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. So in that day, when it's all said and done, they're going to rebuild our cities for us. Just like how we have to rebuild, how we built America for them. We built up England for them and all their other little great nations that came whenever they took us into captivity, right? And it says, and their kings shall minister unto thee, meaning their politicians, their governors, their kings, their presidents, they're going to be our servants in that day. That's what it means to minister. It means to serve, right? So they're not going to be living this prestige life that they have now. They're going to be reduced to servitude in that day. All the Donald Trumps of the world, right? Then it says, for in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor I have mercy on thee. So God, like, I know in the past, Israelites, I dealt with y'all kind of harshly, right? Hold on. So like, it says, so like, yeah, I know I dealt with y'all a little harshly in the past, right? But hey, I had to get down on y'all like that. I wasn't acting like my people. But it says, but in my favor I will have mercy on thee. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually. They should not be shut day nor night, that the men of that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles. So, like I said, in that day, they're going to be paying tribute to us. They're going to be giving us, for the lack of better terms, taxes, right? All the nations going to have to left hand give it up, right hand give it up. Whatever they make, they have to put it and give it to us, right? Just like whatever we make when we work, our little 40-hour, 80-hour weeks, days, whatever, they give us the money, then we give it right back to them, right? Through bills, cost of living, and every way else, right? So the same thing. So it says, for thy gates shall be open continually; they shall not be shut day nor night, that the men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and that their kings may be brought. So the people, because remember we read that the people, the servants, is going to overtake, their masters, right? It says the servants shall prevail, right? We read that in Zechariah. So they're going to capture their leaders, right? They're going to capture their leaders, and then they're going to bring them to us, as a gift. Like, hey, look, we don't want no trouble. Look, we done grabbed our leader. We brought him to you. We don't want no beef. We don't want to, we don't want no problems with y'all. We see how y'all getting down, right? Then it says, for the nation and kingdom that would not serve thee. Who is the thee? The Israelites. So whatever nation in that day don't want to get down with the program, don't want to, respect us as the top hegemony of this society, of this coming society, what does it say? For that nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yeah, those nations shall be utterly wasted. So God said, okay, you've been, destroying and unaliving my people from the beginning. And now we're about to set up this order where you got to serve my people and help my people, right? And if you don't do that, what does it say? For that nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Those nations shall be utterly wasted. So if they're not trying to get down with the program, they will be deleted, right? And that's how the Most High God is getting down with it, right? So, like I said, we got a God that fight for us, right? So when we watch the news and we see all this stuff going on, we know that the Most High God is doing what He needs to do for His people, right? Let's get where it at? Let's get Revelation 2 and 26 real quick. Revelation 2 and 26 says, hold on one second, Salaki, my bad. So yeah, so Revelation 2 and 26, right? So I like it. And it says, and he that overcometh and keep my works unto the end, to him I will give power over the nations. So, as we keep these laws, statutes and commandments in the faith in the Mashiach, and then, like I said, he says, he that overcometh to the end, he will give power over the nations. So we're going to end up ruling these nations, just like how God planned it. And that's how it should be, because look how the world is being ran, right? I was listening to this white guy talk, was it today or something? One of my Facebook friends had shared a video, and he said some stuff that a lot of people need to understand. because he was talking about his constituents and how horrible they are as people and ruling stuff. And he said what need to be said. He said we need to be ran by black people, and he was correct because I mean, who's more passionate than us? Who's more, you know, forgiving and concerned than us? I mean, look at us. I mean, stuff that happens to us. Ain't no other group of people can live in this country as long as we have lived in this country with those people, and be at peace with those people. Any other nation on this planet, it will be war every few decades if it was any other group of people, right? I mean, that's why you think they act the way they act towards us? Because they just know one day is coming. But then at the same time, they looking like, what is wrong with these people? They're not going to fight back. They really ain't going to fight back, right? But at the same time, in the back of their head, they thinking like, one day they going to fight back. That's why sometimes when they walk down the street, they see you coming, they cross the street. They might think, hold on, this might be that day when they decide to fight back, right? But it says, and he that overcometh and keep my work unto the end, to him I will give power over the nations. And that's the promise that God got for his people, the children of Israel, to have power over the nations. Because we never had our own power, right? Let alone power over the nations, right? So that's the promise. Let's get Micah 4:1. Let's get Micah 4:1. All right, and it says this. But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and the people shall flow unto it. So telling you in the last days, we're gonna be them dudes, right? We're gonna be the top hegemony, how God promised, right? It says, but the mountain of the house of the house of the Lord shall be established in the top of the mountains. Because again, mountains in the Bible represents nations. So it's saying that we're going to be, on the top of all the nations when it's all said and done. And many nations shall come and say, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, into the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways. And we will walk in his path, for the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem." Right? So, in that day, they're going to come to us to actually learn about the true Yahweh, the true God, right? Because all this religion stuff they got going on now, all these churches they got set up, all these different whatever belief systems is people believing in, it's all fake. It's all false, and it's all wrong. Right? Because everybody said, well, there's only one God, and and we all talking about the same God, and long as you believe, and blah 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 blah. That's not what the Bible says, right? The Bible, this God of this book, of this Bible, the God of Israel, is very specific on how he wants to be worshipped. So you cannot compare him to any other God because his name is not the same as any other God. The way you worship him is not the same. So it's not. Everybody's not following the same God. That's why it tells us here, and many nations shall come and say, "Come, let us go up to the mountains of the Lord." Let's go to the nation of Israel. Let's go learn from the Black, Hispanic, and Native American people. That's why if you're learning this book, put this out there. If you're learning this book from anybody that's not a believing, practicing Israelite, a Black, Hispanic, Native American, you're learning from your enemy, and that is very out of order towards the Bible. That is not biblical order. We are supposed to teach them. They don't teach us nothing when it comes to this book. Matter of fact, we shouldn't even too much entertain anything they say unless we can prove it ourselves, right? Because it's not set up for them to teach us. We just read in Amos that he's only dealing with the people of Israel. Amos 3 and 2, right? We read that. So this is a future prophecy, and it says, and many nations shall come and say, come, let us go up to the mountain of Israel and to the house of God, the house of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways. Because these churches, you went to church yesterday, you didn't learn the ways of God. You learned Babylonian customs. You learned Greek philosophies, right? That's what you learned. Because this says, let's start at the top. Verse 1. Let's remind everybody what we're talking about here for those in the back. But in the last days. So what time period is this? In the last days, right? So meaning right now, if you're going to these little churches, a lot of us went there yesterday, that means you're not learning jack duty about nothing that God is telling you should be knowing, right? If we're going to believe the book, right? So verse 1 says, but in the last days it shall come to pass, right? So this is talking about a future connotation, right? So meaning these religions that set up, these churches that set up, these pastors, these imams, all these different religious leaders don't know what the hell they talking about, right? Unless it's coming from a Black, Hispanic, Native American practicing Israelite, right? Says, and jump down to verse 2, and many nations shall come and say, come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord and to the house of God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways. Meaning, they don't know his ways. Look at the world and how it's being ran today. It's a church on every dangle corner in a Black neighborhood. Look, watch and see how that neighborhood is. How is that neighborhood? That all of these churches. I rode down the street in Chicago. There's about 11 churches on one block. On one block, about 4 churches before I got to the next corner. But we don't know God. Why? Because it says, and many shall come and say, let us come and go to the mountain of the Lord in the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his path. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Meaning, this is how you get to, you got to learn it from the people, right? Like, I mean, like take martial arts, for example, right? It's cool. I mean, I did martial arts growing up. I had a sensei. My sensei was a Black man, right? He was cold. Don't get it twisted, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, but for the sake of arguments. Now, some people will be like, I had a friend that used to joke that I'm learning, martial arts from a Black guy rather an Asian person, right? So now you would think, okay, yeah, that's would make a little more sense to learn it from, because it's their culture. Saying that with the air quotes because I don't want to get too deep because we know the truth. But anyways, their culture, and all that. So that's what people would say, right? So it's like, why would you learn this book from anybody else who's not an Israelite, right? And that's why we got all these different gazillion different religions out here and practicing all this crazy stuff, because they're not learning it from the people who God told you to learn it from, right? So, crazy. Then let's get boom. Hold up. Okay. Let's get Ezekiel 14 real quick. 14 and 16. And it says, although these 3 men says Though these three men were in it, as alive said the Lord God, they shall deliver neither son nor daughter, they only shall be delivered, but the land shall be desolate. Right? So, like I said, so the Most High, hold on, let's read again. It says, though these three men were in it, as I live, said the Lord God, they shall be delivered. They shall be delivered. They shall deliver. They shall deliver neither son nor daughter. They only shall be delivered, but the land shall be desolate. Right? Because, like I said, these people. Because, like I said, the land is desolate because we were taken out, through slavery, Roman oppression, kicked us out 70 AD. We got scattered. Because, of course, those people in the land is not who they say they are. And it says, and the Lord shall inherit Judah. This is Zechariah 2 and 12. It says, and the Lord shall inherit Judah, his portion, in the Holy Land, and shall choose Jerusalem again. So, like I said, although our land got destroyed and we got taken out of it in 70 AD, then, of course, thousands or so years later, they came and took us from the west coast of Africa again and all that cool stuff. But he says, and the Lord shall inherit Judah, his portion, in the Holy Land, and shall choose Jerusalem again. So, like I said, so he's going to restore us, right, and bring us back from all these different places that we're scattered to, and restore that land and build it back up, right? And it says, be silent, O all flesh, before the Lord, for he is risen up out of his holy habitation. Pass from thee, and I will clothe thee with changed raiment. So, like I said, the Most High God is coming to redeem his people and fix them and judge the world, right? So let's get go to Jeremiah 4, Jeremiah 16 and 4. And it say, Jeremiah 16 and 4, they shall be grievous, they shall die of a grievous death, they shall not be a lament, neither shall they be buried, but they shall be as dung upon the face of the earth. So now that's what happened to our people once we got taken to this side of the world through slavery, right? Throughout slavery, like whenever we died on them plantations, we didn't have time to really mourn for our people, for our family. We just, mastered like, all right, dig a hole, bury them real quick and get back to work. We didn't have really that time of mourning because we just had to just hurry up and just put somebody in the grave and get back to work, right? Didn't have the proper funeral concessions for them, right? So it says, they shall die a grievous death. They shall not be lamented, neither shall they be buried, but they shall be as dung upon the face of the earth. Meaning, like I said, we're going to be downtrodden and mistreated in this land, right? And and it's going to be by not in this land, but in every land we go to. Like every nation on this earth has a derogatory slang word for us. Everywhere on this earth where we go, we're treated as second-class citizens, right? I mean, Oprah Winfrey, a billionaire, right? She goes to France. She's not allowed to shop. I think it happened to her a few times here in America where they didn't let her into a store, right? But to be real with you, Oprah with no makeup on, I probably wouldn't let her in either. Right, but that's neither here nor there. But we understand that, that's how they treat us no matter where we go, right? So it says, they shall die a grievous death, they shall not be lamented, neither shall they be buried, but they shall be as dung upon the face of the earth, and they shall be consumed by the sword. And that's what happened, through their oppression, their redlining, their, unaliving tactics that they may use, the hanging, the everything they do, the unarmed shootings that happen with dealing with these people. It says, and they shall be consumed by the sword and by famine, and their carcass shall be meat for the fowls of heaven, for the beasts of the earth. Meaning we're just gonna be, you know, unattended, you know, stuff happens to us and nobody pays restitution. It's just expected to do bad things to us, right? And we're expected to accept it, and that's just how the world carries on. Because don't think that the world don't see how we're being treated. It's just like, oh well, shoot. I mean, that's just what every. It's just like if you see somebody, like how people do sometimes. If it's somebody getting picked on, more oftentimes than none, a lot of people will gain up on that person that's getting picked on. It's a very few people that will probably stand up for that person that's getting picked on, but oftentimes people join in with the crowd because they don't want to feel left out. So they're like, all right, okay, this is what we're doing. So that's what the nations do. They see how we've been getting treated, and they go right in with it. I tell the story all the time. I used to work with this Moabite, this Korean dude, and he was, he told me he was trying to be jokey with it, but he was still being real. And he told me like man, the reason why I be so hard on you, and because you black, and I know you can take it. I mean, that's they've been, black people have been getting treated bad for so long. I mean, y'all got a tolerance. You can take it. And he was kind of trying to be funny about it, but his actions. That's why I say he tried to be jokey about it, but his actions in interacting with him, that's how he really truly felt, because he was a asshole as a manager, right? So they know what's going on. And it says, but they don't do anything about it because they also benefit from our oppression. And it says, they shall die a grievous death, they shall not be lament, neither shall they be buried, but they shall be as dung upon the face of the earth, and they shall be consumed by the sword and by famine, and their carcass shall be meat for the fowl of heaven and for the beasts of the earth. Right? And that's how we treat it here, right? We're like prey. Anybody can come and use and abuse us, right? That's how they market it. That's why in our neighborhoods we got everybody in our neighborhood selling us stuff. But you go to one of their neighborhoods, you ain't got us in their neighborhood selling them anything, right? So let's get Jeremiah 17. No, let's go to 18 and Jeremiah 18 and 17. Because again, because we just painting a picture of how we have been getting treated here and how the Most High God is going to, save us from these conditions, right? So Jeremiah 18 and 17. Because it was prophesied for us to come to this side of the world, right? And it said this: I will scatter them as with a east wind before the enemy. So think about this, right? A east wind. So if you're familiar with the weather and all that stuff, a east wind. So if the wind is blowing from the east, then which way is it going to push you? To the west. So that's how we got to the west coast. It says, I will scatter them with an east wind before the enemy. So when the Roman Empire took over in 70 AD, that war, that conquest, that was that east wind that blew us to the west. And we end up settling in north and west coast of Africa. Then over a course of a millennia, 1,000 years, we, end up majority being on the west coast. And then that east wind came in the form of the Europeans when they came and took us to this side of the world, right? So it says, I will scatter them with the east wind before the enemy, and I will show them back and not the face. I'll show them the back and not the face in that day of their calamity. Meaning God is going to turn his back on us And that's how they were able to take us captive and have us, right? Because the Bible says God turned his face from us a little bit. It's trouble, right? Um, so yeah, that's how we got over it. Let's get this. Jeremiah 17:4. It says, "And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thy enemy in a land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever." Right? So that's why, he calls us to be scattered and have these other nations take over, take us over, because of our sins against him, because we didn't hold up our end of the contract that we made with the Most High God. So he allowed these other nations to overthrow us, right? And then it says, shall discontinue from thy heritage which I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thy enemies in the land thou which thou knowest not. So that's what happened to us. We got discontinued from our heritage. That's why we don't have our names anymore. We don't have our, the way we dress, our language, and all that stuff, right? Our whole family structure, everything was destroyed during that time, right? Let's get. Hold up. Let's get So let's get boom, boom, boom. Let's see all the. Let's get Jeremiah 5:14. So it says, "Wherefore thus saith the Lord God of hosts, because ye." All right, I'll just jump down to 15. "Lo, I will bring a nation upon you from far, O house of Israel, saith the Lord. It is a mighty nation. It is an ancient nation, a nation whose language thou knowest not, neither understand what they say." Right. So it's just contextually talking about the Babylonians, because they had a different dialect of how they spoke, but understanding the curses that the Most High God, and the punishments that we read about in Deuteronomy 28, that are that God uses to punish us as a nation. They are circular. They are things that are reoccurring. So it's not just a one-time event. Whenever we disobey God, these things are reoccurring things that He uses to punish the nation of Israel whenever we go off. And one of them is slavery. So we can see even during this time when Israel was, acting up, He sent the Babylonians against them, right? And so forth, right? So that's what's going on. So let's get let's go back. Hold on 1 second. Let's go to the book. Let's go to Joel. We can go to Joel. Yeah, let's go to Joel real quick. Let's go to Joel. Go to Joel chapter 3. Right? So again, so we understand that the Most High God is gonna, his plan is to take us out of these places that we're captive at and judge the world for putting us in these hellish conditions, right? And he's gonna judge them in the valley of Jehoshaphat, in the valley of decisions, right? Armageddon, right? So let's get this. Joel chapter 3, verse 1, it says, For behold, in those days, and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. So meaning he's going to take us out of these different nations that we've been scattered through slavery, right? So I will also gather all the nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will plead with them for my people and for my heritage Israel, right? So hold on, before we move on, let's get Micah 2:2 real quick. So Micah 2:2 says this. Because we got to understand the people who we're dealing with, right? It says, woe to the, it says, let's start at verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds when the morning light, when the morning is light, they practice it. They practice it because it is in their power of their hand. So these wicked bastards, these devils, they be making all these oppressive laws to, red line against our people and all that. They meditate on these things. They think about how can they further oppress the Black and Hispanic people, right? This is not some random occurrence that stuff that's happened. They plan on how they can keep us at the bottom. They spend millions and billions of dollars to uphold white supremacy, right? They keep it. It says, and they covet fields and they take them by violence. They covet fields and they take them by violence, and houses they take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. So they oppress us, right? Through their, by taxes. They don't even, you may think you own a house, but then shoot, you got to pay property tax and all this other stuff, and they can still come and take it if they want to. If they want to do some eminent domain type stuff, they can come take your land and everything, right? And if you don't want to leave, they'll just bulldoze it while you're there, right? So it says, they covet fields and they take them by violence. Who does this sound like? These people, wherever they go, they take it by violence. They never migrate and go somewhere and be like, oh, just go live amongst the people and just be peace and harmony. Nope. They get there, they unalive, they rob, they steal, they touch women in places, right? They do things, right? Because they can't help it. It says, let's get, it says, boom, boom, boom. It says, therefore, I can read it. It says, therefore, thus said the Lord, behold, against this family I do devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughty, for this time is evil. So God got a plan for these people, right? He said, look, what I got planned for y'all people, y'all will no longer walk around, prideful and, acting like, how y'all act. Once I, what I got planned for y'all, right? That's good. Let's go back to Joel. Manifest that. And let's get us Second Ezra real quick. Second Ezra 15:21 says this. It says, like as they do yet this day unto my chosen. And where are the chosen? The Israelites, the black, Hispanic, and Native American. Like as they do yet this day unto my chosen, so will I do also in recompense in their bosom. So God says, how they got down on my people, how they treated my people over the years, over the decades, I'm going to do the same thing to them straight to their face, right? That's what it means when it says in their bosom. Thus said the Lord God, my right hand shall not spare the sinner, and my sword shall not cease over them that shed innocent blood upon the earth. And these people are murderers, right? History tells us no matter where they go, they shed innocent blood, right? It says, the fire is gone forth from his wrath and has consumed the foundations of the earth, and the sinners like straw is like straw that is kindled. Woe to them that sin and keep not my commandments, said the Lord. I will not spare them. Go your way, ye children from the power, defile not my sanctuary. So, God ain't playing, right, with his people, right? He's coming to protect us, right? And he got a judgment for these people, that, did what they did to us. It says, like they do yet this day to my chosen, so would I also in recompense in their bosom. Thus said the Lord God, my right hand shall not spare the sinner. Meaning God's going to get down with these people. Because a lot of people say, well, God hate the sinner. God hate the sinner. Now, that's not what we're reading here. Right? He's going to get down with them. Right? Let's get Matthew 24 real quick. Matthew 24 verse 7 says this. For the nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famine and pestilence in the earth, and earthquakes in diverse places. So that's what we're getting ready to see, right? As he's gathering these nations to make their way down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, to the valley of decisions, right? When we look on the news and we see what's going on in Israel, we see what's going on in Russia and China and so forth. Slowly bringing them to the valley of Jehoshaphat, the valley of decisions, where he's going to judge these people for everything that they have done to his people, right? So it's a for behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all the nations and will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations, and parted my land. Right? So, like I said, when it says he's gonna plead with them, not plead with them like, please, like, come on, man, why y'all doing this to my people, man? Come on, man, please. What's going on with y'all, right? No, that's not what he's talking about. Right? That's not what he's talking about. Let's get Ezekiel 36. Ezekiel 36 and 5 says this. It says, therefore, thus said the Lord God, surely the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen. So God is mad with these nations, right? And it says, and against all Idumea. And we know who all Idumea is, right? It's a Latin way of saying Edom. And we know who Edom is. Esau is the so-called Caucasian, right? So it says, which have appointed my land into their possession with joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast out for a prey. So, that's what they're over there doing. They're dividing the land, right? You got Trump over there talking about what they're going to do with the Gaza Strip and turning it into like a little casino resort area and all that stuff, right? They over there making plans in God's place, right? They have the biggest homosexual gay pride parade in the world, capital of the world. Understand that God's holy land, Tel Aviv, is the gay capital of the world. That's crazy, right? But that's what they're doing over there, right? So it says, let's get so yeah, that's it on that. But that's so they're over there, right? So it says this. It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord God, surely in the fire of my jealousy I have spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of their hearts, with despiteful minds to cast out for a prey. And that's what they've been doing. They casting it out, selling the land, doing all types of atrocities, right? Let's go back to oh, let's get this real quick. Luke 21. Luke 21 and 44, right? Real quick. No, not 25. I mean, and 24. Let's start at 23. Luke 21 and 23. No, let's start at 22. And these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. Because we got to understand there are prophecies concerning this world and different nations that God says is going to happen. So either we're going to call God a liar or just say this whole thing is fake, because God says certain things is going to happen. And if we're familiar with this, he said a lot of things was going to happen, and those things happen. And we can look back in history and see that those things happen, right? So he says, for these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. So, and we're seeing all these, things being fulfilled that the prophets had prophesied about, a long time ago. And it says, but woe unto them that are with child, and them that are given suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land and a wrath upon his people. Right? Because this is when the Romans came and took over in 70 AD, expelled us from the land. Right? So now, of course, if you have young children with you while you're on a run trying to survive, not only do you got your life to look after, you have young, children to protect as well. So it's going to be a little more difficult, right? Your survival rate kind of decreases a little bit, right? If, depending on how young these kids are. So it says, woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land and a wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. That's what happened to the real Israelites, not the ones with the little curly stuff hanging from the side, and they got the little cup coasters sitting on top of their head. Not those guys, right? It says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So those people over there are the Gentiles, and they're over there until their time is up, and their time is up when Christ comes back, right? So they're not the people. They're not who they say they are, right? So let's go back. And let's get Deuteronomy 68 and 64. And it says this, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So we got taken into slavery. We got brought here to America. We got brought to these different nations that we were brought to. And we started following those different customs and start following these different religions that a lot of our people are wrapped up in to this day, right? And the Most High God told us this was going to happen, that the Lord shall scatter thee among all nations from one end of the earth, even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods which neither thou father nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone, right? And that's what we're caught up in, right? Let's get All right, that's it. Let's go to so back to Joel. So let's start at verse 2. Chapter 3, verse 2, Joel says, And I will also gather all nations, I will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Right? And we know how they did that. Then it says, And they shall cast lots for my people and give a boy for a harlot and sold a girl for wine. That's what happened when slavery happened, when they came over to the west coast of Africa. The Africans over there, because again, we're not Africans, we're not Hamites, we're not flesh and blood Hamites, although we resided on the west coast of Africa, but them bastards knew exactly who they were trading for wine and guns and gunpowder and whatever stuff they can trade us for, right? And they was not selling their own people, because that's dumb, right? Nobody will sell their own people. That's just stupid. It's always a tribal thing, right? And just because we're dark-skinned people, it doesn't mean that we're the same people. Majority of the world is melanated people, except for one group of people. So it's not about, because all skin folks is not kin folks. Just like we look at the Asian population, there are different, groups of Asian people, but we don't say, well, because they all look alike. No, because even an East Indian, which would be like an Asian person, they don't call them black, and they're dark skinned just like us. Japanese, Filipino, although they might have similar phenotypes, but they're different people, right? And we allow them to be different people, but when it comes to black people, we have to be African. We can't be nothing else. It's crazy, right? But we're not Hamitic, we're Shemitic, right? It's a different bloodline. And they know that, because when they come over here, they don't deal with us. They got their own community, right? They're not coming to build and deal with us. That's not what they do. So it says, And they have cast a lot for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. That's what they did. When you get into the history of slavery, they were selling us for, they was treating our men like prostitutes, selling them off to them little filthy, nasty, despicable Europeans, and then training our women for wine and and guns and whatever they need, right? So that's history. We know that happened. And the Bible tells us that that's what they're going to do. Like thousands and thousands of years before it even happened. That's why we believe this book, right? Then it says, and what have ye to do with me, Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? So, this is African nations, right? So God is asking these African nations, what do you got to do with me? Huh? What do you think our connection is? You think, we connected, you think because you done sold my people off to a far land that, now we cool now, I'm just going to accept y'all like everything's cool, right? He said, what have ye to do with me, Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? God, like, look, what you gonna do? Can you pay me back? When I decide to get down on y'all, if I come and black your eye right now, what you gonna do about it? You can't do nothing about it. What you gonna do? Right? It says, and if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Meaning there's nothing you can do to me. If you think you can get me back, you can do something to spite me, Whatever you try to do, I'm going to turn it back on your own head, right? Then it says, so it's talking about these African people, these African nations that had a hand in our slavery, right? The Most High God doesn't discriminate. Everybody can get it, right? Then it says, because ye have because ye have taken my silver and my gold and carried them into your temples, my goodly pleasant things. Right? So that's they stolen, our stuff, right? Not only did they take our holy, relics, they took the holy people. They took the holy people of God as well. They took everything. They got down on us like 50 Cent how to rob. They took everything. Hold on one second. Let's get Zechariah 9 and 6 real quick. So they took everything. And those people that's over there is not who they say they are. It says this, Zechariah 9 and 6, a bastard should dwell in Asgard, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. Right? And that's what's going on with these people. They're, that's why there's Gentiles over in that land. None of those people belong over there. And like I said, and he's gonna cut the pride of these people down, right? Although those people are not the real Philistines, neither though. That's a whole nother story. Those people are Turkish, But let's hold on. Let's get back up here. And it says, yeah, what have ye to do with me, Tyre and Zidon, and the coast of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because ye have taken my silver and my gold and carry it into your temples, my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians. So is this not history? I mean, because of course, back then they was calling themselves Greeks and Romans, so they wasn't calling themselves American, French, German, the Germans, Russian and all that stuff. They wasn't saying all of that, right? They was just Greeks. And what did they say? It says, because the children also of Judah, it says, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians. So the Africans took us and sold us to the white man. Is that not history? Is God not telling the truth right here? Is our dear brother Joel is lying? No, that's what happened. Because Joel was prophesying on this was going to happen. Then it says, and sold them unto the Grecians that they might remove them far away from their borders. And that's what happened. We got removed far away from our borders with them slave ships, right? Amos 3 and 5 real quick. Amos 3 and 5 says this. Can a bird fall into a snare upon the earth where there's no gin for him? Shall one take up a snare from the earth and have taken nothing? Have taken nothing at all. Meaning, these people set a trap. And it says and they took us and they sold us to the Grecians. But the Most High God is going to set a trap for these people, right? And it says this. Behold, I will raise them up out of the places where ye have sold them, and I will return your recompense upon your own head. So God says, all right, I'm going to raise these people up, build them up in these different lands you sold them to. Then it says, I will and turn your recompense upon your own head, and I will sell your sons and your daughters unto the hand of the children of into the hand of the children of Judah, which is us, Then it says, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for the Lord hath spoken it. Right? And I'm being funny right here because I know some of the people might take this and run off with it. So, disclaimer, being funny, being a joke, it's a joke. So, when it says, and I will sell your daughters into the hands of the children of Judah, and they will sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off. Right now, that part, this is what I'm talking about, where it's a little joke. And I hope the Sabians is somewhere far beyond the ice wall, right? For those that be talking about the flat earth and the ice wall. So I hope them Sabian people, because, when you try to, look up the definition of Sabian, it's unfounded, I believe. So I'm hoping that these Sabian people live far beyond the ice wall, right? I'm joking, of course. I don't want little crazies go crazy about the ice wall, but you get the point. You understand? For I will sell your children and your daughters into the hands of the children of Judah, and they will sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for the Lord hath spoken it. Right? Let's get our dear brother Baruch. Let's go to the book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 24. And it say, like as now the neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity. So all the world has seen our captivity. They know what happened to us for the last 500 years, right? They did nothing. They watched it. They know it, right? It says, like as now the neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity, so shall they shortly. So as they witness us getting taken into captivity and did nothing, and also benefit from us being downtrodden, it says, now the children of Zion have seen your now the neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity, so shall they see shortly your salvation from our God, which shall come upon you with great glory and brightness of everlasting. So just like how they witnessed America and England and Britain and all these other nations, take us into slavery and so forth, they're going to have to witness our salvation as well, right? They're going to see us getting saved. They're going to see the Most High God working and doing what he needs to do. And they're going to be astonished by it, right? Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Oh. Left to my pen. 1 second. What's this? Okay, yeah, we can use this. Boom, check it. Okay. So, 1 second. So, let's read it again. It says, like as now the neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity, so they should shortly see your salvation from our God, which shall come upon you with great glory and brightness of everlasting. Right? So they're going to have to see, our salvation, just like they witnessed our destruction. And they're going to have to, deal with that, right? Let's get Wisdom of Solomon real quick. Real quick. Wisdom of Solomon. So let's read it one more time. Boom. Let's read it together real quick. Boom. So, boom. So yeah, it says read again. It says so this Book of Baruch 4 and 24. Like as now the neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity, so shall they shortly so shall they shortly your salvation from our God, which shall come upon you with great glory and brightness of everlasting. So just like how they witnessed everything else and did nothing, they're gonna have to witness our salvation and get nothing. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5 says this. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as afflicted him and made no account of his labors. So in that day, we're going to stand in great boldness as we're doing now, and as we're coming back to our culture, coming back to our heritage, following God, ways the way He wants us to. We're starting to stand up in great boldness in the face of those who afflicted us, right, and made no account of His labor. So they didn't even count. They stopped counting. Like they say, we help America $4.7 trillion of free labor America got off of us, leading up into the Jim Crow era, right? So that's just they stopped counting after the Jim Crow era. That's 4.7 trillion. Who knows what the number really is? They just stopped counting after when the Jim Crow era started. So it says, and made no account of their labors, meaning they're not talking about how much money they should be giving us for reparations, what they need to do to repay us for all the, work that we did to build this country, all the blood, sweat, and tears that we put in to make America great, right? So it says, then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labor. That's what this place do. They don't be like, we've been really hard on those black and brown people. I think we should do something nice for them. How about we kind of like pay them back? Why don't we do actually give them their $4.7 trillion back and give them half of the country? Maybe we should do something like that. That'll be nice, right? They don't think like that, right? Because it says, and made no accounts of his labor. When they see it, they shall be troubled with the fear. Why? Because over here it says, over back at the Baruch 4:24. So they should shortly, it says, like now the neighbor of Zion have seen your captivity, so they should shortly see your salvation from our God, right? So it says, when they see it, they shall be troubled with fear and shall be amazed at the strangeness of His salvation, so far beyond all what they look for, right? Because these people, the way they treated us and how they look at us, they're not thinking like, oh, these is God's people, maybe we should not treat them that way. They look at us as, we deserve to treat them this way. They should be treated this way, right? Because they make no accounts of our labor. They don't even think about, think twice of the work that we put in. They take it for granted and be like, that's what you're supposed to do. Dango nigger, get back to work, right? So it says, when they see it, they shall be troubled with troubled fear and shall be amazed be amazed at the strangeness of His salvation, so far beyond all they that look for. They repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit, saying within themselves. So they're gonna be pissed off in that day when they see God coming to save His people from their sins, like it tells us in the book of Luke. They're gonna be so pissed off. They're gonna be so like, oh my God, I went to church and I done gave Pastor $11 to help him get his new Bentley and that new uh fake Geneva watch that be embarrassing us. I help him do that, right? And you mean to tell me I can't get into heaven all the money I done spent in this place, right? So, cause that's that's what you do. You go to church and you spend money. It's like the club, you know. Church is like it's a club and it's like a membership club, like a workout YMCA type thing where you gotta, keep your membership going, right? So, and people gonna be like, hold on, man, I sit in the first row at the church. What are you talking about? I can't get in there. Why? What are these niggers doing up in there, right? So it says, when they see it, they shall be troubled with fear and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they look for. They repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit, saying within themselves, this is he? Like these niggas here? Right? This is he? Whom we had sometimes in derision, in a proverb, in a reproach. These niggas who we've been beating and hanging and calling an N-word all day long and saying how destructive and evil these people are because they just can't get it together. You mean these the people that's getting saved? Right? That's what they're going to be looking like. Then it says, the strangeness of his salvation so far beyond all they that look for, because they go to these churches and the church tells you all you got to do is believe in sweet Jesus, and you save. All you got to do is say, like Joel Molesting says, if you just pray the sinner's prayer and accept Jesus in your heart, and then you are born again. That's what people been taught. That's what they think. And they're going to be crazy. And they're going to go crazy in that day when they find out that Joel Molesting lied to them. That you ain't got to just pray the sinner's prayer and accept God in your heart. And if you believe that and you receive that, say amen. They're going to be confounded in that day. Because in their religious system, that's what they're taught. They didn't think about the Black, Hispanic, and Native American people that those are God's people. Because, why would they be? Right? They didn't think that far. But it says this. When they see it, they shall be troubled with fear and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all they that look for. And they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit, say within themselves, this is he whom we had sometimes in derision, in a proverb, in a reproach. We fools, accounting his life as madness and his end to be without honor. So you're like, man, all this time we just been looking at these people like, they can't get, these are niggas. Look at these niggas. We can't get, like, what are we going to do with them, right? And so they've been looking at us as worthless and useless and all this stuff for all this time, just to find out that we are God's people and God is coming to redeem us and not them. So all their filthy righteousness, all their, self-righteous stuff that they try to propagate, is going to be like filthy rags in the Most High's face, right? And it says, they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit, saying within themselves, this is he whom we had in sometimes derision and a proverb and of a reproach. We fools accounted his life as madness and his end to be without honor. Because they like, man, these, they look at us as nothing, like we're just here. Then it says, how is he numbered among the children of God? They're going to be like, what? How is they the children of God? I thought the little curly hair side curl people, the little side curly lock with the little coaster, or what else? What is that? The coaster. What else? What another other name I said it? Even though I like coaster. Coaster is funny. I like coaster. That's funny. The little coaster sitting on their head, you know, or the the little that's what they got, right? The little saucer, the little saucer plate that they put on top of their head, right? They be like, it says, how is he numbered among the children of God? And his lot is among the saints. Like, how is they the people? I thought the little curly haired people that be rocking like they got a nervous condition and hitting their head against that wall over there, giving themselves a concussion. I thought those were the people. What's going on here? Right? But it says, how is he numbered among the children of God, and his lot among the saints? Therefore have we erred. So they're gonna realize that they messed up that day. They effed up. They're gonna realize that. They're gonna be like, therefore we have erred from the way of truth, in the light of righteousness have not shined unto us, and the sum of righteousness rose not upon us. So they're gonna realize that they've been following a false doctrine all these years, and they're gonna realize that we are who we say we are, right? And that is the people of God. So back over here, my peeps. Jeremiah 25:15. Jeremiah 25:15. And it says this. It says, for thus saith the Lord God of Israel unto me, take the wine cup of his fury at my hand, and cause all nations to whom I send thee to drink it. So we got to understand this. So God has a cup of wrath that, just think about all the countries of the world is sitting in a big old kumbaya circle with the Most High God. And God got this wrath of this cup, this golden cup, and he passing it around the whole camp circle, right? Then, every nation has to drink from that cup, and everything that's in that cup is everything that their nation is going to do, good or bad, right? But this is the cup of wrath, right? It says this. It says, for thus said the Lord God of Israel, take the wine cup of his fury at my hand, and cause all nations of whom I have sent thee to drink it. So we have to drink from that cup of God's wrath. That's why we're here in America and other places that we're scattered through, going through the stuff that we're going through, right? But then these nations are going to have to drink that cup of his wrath also. Then it says, and they shall drink and be moved and be mad because of the sword that I will send among them, right? So, again, as they, as God passing judgment on these nations, right, they're going to end up going through the same stuff that we went through as a nation. You read about that in Deuteronomy 30:7. And they're going to have to go through it double. They were unaliving our babies and, having forced abortions and using gator bait and putting crack and stuff and heroin into our community to try to curb our population. But how the Most High get them back? By giving them a negative birth rate and getting them hooked on opioids, to where New Hampshire and all that stuff they all cracked out up there, right? In other little states, right? I was telling somebody I went to Seattle. I was in Seattle not too long ago, and it's like zombies. They're like zombies out there, right? So that's what happens. And it says, says, therefore we have erred from our way of truth, and the light of righteousness have not shined unto us, and the sun of righteousness rose not upon us. Where we worry ourselves in the way of wickedness and destruction. Yeah, we have gone through deserts where there lay no way, but as for the way of the Lord, we have not known it. And that's that's why a lot of the stuff is fake out here. A lot of these churches and the stuff is fake. That's why we read earlier where the nation's gonna be like, come, let's go up to the mountain of the Lord so we can learn about Yahweh. Right? Because they're gonna understand in that day all the stuff that they've been taught is useless, it's fake, it's not biblical, it's not anything that God told anybody to do. But we're reading exactly what God says that we should do. Right? Let's go back to oh yeah, with it. So let's go back to Joel 3:8. It says, I will sell your sons and daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for the Lord hath spoken it. And it says, proclaim ye among the Gentiles, prepare a war, wake up the mighty man, let all them men of war draw near, let them come. Right? So God is putting a spirit on these different nations to go to battle, to build up their military, to say, like, you know what we got to lose, right? We're gonna fight this one out. And it says, beat your plowshares into swords and your prune hooks into spears, meaning your manufacturing companies, go ahead and start pumping out military weapons and supplies and stuff. Go ahead, convert that manufacturing company that you got making pots and pans and silverware. Matter of fact, we cut that out. We need weapons. We need bullets. We need artillery shells, right? That's what we need. We need to start pumping out that, right? So it says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare a war. That's what, when you turn on the TV, you see all these different nations talking about what they gonna do and what they, and what they is gonna do, right? It says, prepare a war, wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near, let them come, beat your plowshares into swords and your prune hooks into spears. And these little smaller countries, right? Venezuela, like, we ain't going. Y'all might have kidnapped our president, but our sister down there said she ain't going. God bless it. Cuba, like, look, we ain't going with that. So all these smaller nations, not just these smaller nations on this side, it says, beat your plowshares into prune hooks and let these smaller nations, let these other nations that didn't have a backbone before because they was afraid. And now they getting, now they like, you know what? Forget it. We're going for broke. Let the weak say I am strong. Right? That's what's going to happen. The weak is going to say I am strong because they're going to get confidence. They're going to be like, you know what? Forget America. And we're going to fight. And even if we lose, we're going to fight. And that's what a lot of these nations doing. China and Russia, they kind of pussyfooting around, But like I said, matter of fact, China and Russia, y'all need to do something. Step up. Y'all need to protect your BRICS squad members more, right? That should have never happened to Venezuela, right? Get your stuff together, right? It's supposed to be BRICS squad. Isaiah 14:10 says this, and it says, all they that speak and shall go into and shall say unto thee, art thou become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? So all these nations, when people start finally looking at America and be like, you know what? They ain't that tough. They ain't as strong as we thought they were. They're gonna be like, and like, what it says? It says, all they that speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? So after a while, they're gonna be looking at America like dinner. Like, you know what? They ain't that tough. They just as weak as us. They not as strong as we thought they were. Or have they become weak as we? That's why it says, beat your plowshares into prune hooks. Beat your plowshares into swords and your prune hooks into spears, and let the weak say, I am strong. Right? And that's what they're gonna do, right? You're like, man, we are strong. I think we can take America now. We can take NATO now, right? Like, oh shoot, especially if this place get hit with a one of them things, they definitely gonna have confidence. Like, oh shoot, it's game on. It says, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about thither, cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. So it's like, look, bring all your mighty warriors, all your strategists, and all that stuff. Just bring them together, right? And it says, let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, the valley of decisions, right? Let them come up, right? And it says, for there will I set to judge all heathens round about. So God is bringing all these nations down to that point called Jehoshaphat, the valley of Jehoshaphat, the valley of decisions. And when you look through all, history of war, that area is very famous, for battles. A lot of ancient battles took place in that, in that portion of the land. A lot of famous battles went down. So it's only fitted that the final battle for all of this whole everything would take place right in the valley of decisions, the valley of Jehoshaphat. And it says, put ye a sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come down, come get you down, for the press is full of fat. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. And that wine press is Yahushua, Jesus Christ. You know what a wine press does? A wine press squeezes the grapes, right? To press the grapes to make wine. The grapes is these nations. In this context, the wine is blood being dripped from these grapes, meaning it's an unenlivened happening here, right? So it says this. Let's get Ezekiel. Let's get Isaiah. Isaiah can tell us better than anybody what's going on in the world. Isaiah 63, I think. Hold up. Hold up. One second. Hold on, man. Hold on. So 1 second. Yeah, Isaiah 63. And it says, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra, that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength? Right, so this is the Mashiach Yahushua coming from the land of Edom, from freshly destroying these people of Edom. We already know who the people of Edom is, right? I'm going to say it because I like saying it. The Caucasians, right? So it says, who is this coming from Edom with dyed garments from Basra, that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength? I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Right? So who is this guy? It says, therefore art thou red in apparel, and thy garments like him that treaded the wine fat. So again, Christ is that wine press that is treading over these grapes, right? Over that wine fat, which is the blood of the people, right? And Then it says, I have trotted the winepress. And said, I had trotted the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in my anger. So Christ is saying, look, I had to come back and save my people because all these other nations witnessed the atrocities that happened to the people, and they did nothing about it. So I have to come and take vengeance myself, because when America did what they did to my people, Germany, Russia, none of them damn countries in Africa that you people want to align yourself with, none of them said, hey, let's put sanctions on America. Hey, let's send a army to stop them from enslaving those people over there. Hey, let's put a blockade in the Atlantic Ocean that any slave ship comes past this thing, we're arresting them and taking them to jail, right? And confiscating the slave ship and returning it back. They didn't do that, right? None of those nations did those things. So Christ says this, therefore art thou ready. He said, I had trotted the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in my anger and trample them in my fury. So Christ is pissed off. So when he come back, he's going to destroy these nations like a winepress crushes grapes and squeezes out the blood of the wine, which is the blood of the people. I have trodden the winepress, and the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in my anger and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall sprinkle upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. So Christ said, I'm going to get down and dirty. I'm about to get my clothes bloody, crushing these nations for what they have done to my people. That's the Christ that we serve. That's my Jesus. That's my Jesus right now. You know, a warrior. He's coming back to crush these nations for what they did to us. Right? It says, I will tread down on the people in my anger and make them drunk in my fury, and I will bring down their strength to the earth. Right? That's what Christ is going to get down. Right? Because we have a God that fight for us. He's sending his son back to redeem his people. Right? Like it tells us in Matthew. Right? So it says, all right, let's get go back. Go back. 1 second, sir. Lucky of people. Alright, we back. So it says, boom. So assemble yourselves. This is Joel 3:11. So it says, assemble yourselves and come, ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about thither. Cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord, and let the heathen be weak, awaken, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For I will sit and judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come and get down. Come you down, for the press is full of the fats overflow. For their wickedness is great. So, like I said, because understand how the Most High God operate. You know, just like the FBI, he doesn't get these nations on the first time. He's waiting for this one day where he's gonna take everything they ever done and he's gonna judge them for it, and it's gonna be very bad for them. Then it says, multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. So he's bringing all the armies of the world down to that point, you know, they're gonna come and do battle. He's gonna make them, you know, unalive each other till there's none left. Then it says the sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall be with draw their shipping. The Lord also shall ward of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens of the earth shall shake, but the Lord will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. So it says the sun and the moon shall be darkened. So this is not talking about the actual sun and the moon, but even at the same time on the flip side, because nuclear fallout is going to be very hazy, very dusty. Very hazy, very dusty world to live in that day. But this is talking about the knowledge and wisdom of the world, right? So it's saying that, what did it say? Boom, boom, boom. Says the sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shipping. So meaning, in that day, all the wisdom of this world, all the little knowledge and the what's the word? The civilness of the people is going to flee that day. They're going to be like animals that day. It's going to be everybody trying to survive. Like that Good Time song. Stretching and surviving. Good time. Hanging in a dollar. Good time. Yeah, it's going to be like that, right? Says the sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall be withdrawn from their shipping. Meaning, like I said, wisdom and understanding is going to be taken from this world because it's going to be chaos. World War III is breaking out. Nuclear bombs then hit everything, and everybody's in chaos. There's no clean water. There's no really food like that. So it's everything going to be scarce. So people is going to be getting down how they live and doing what they going to their primal instincts to survive. Right? So it says, the Lord also shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake, but the Lord will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. Because we know what's going on. So we're going to trust in the Lord in that day. So, because we understand, because we're going over the game plan right now. So we're going to trust in the Lord in that day. Right? Then it says, so shall ye know that I am the Lord your God, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there no stranger pass through her any more. Meaning, we're not going to get conquered no more. Once Christ's government is set up on this earth, the Israelites are back in their land. We're not getting conquered no more. We're not going to get taken into slavery and brought to this country, that country, and have our whole custom and history and stuff stripped away from us. It's not happening no more once we back in that land. And it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and the rivers of Judah shall flow with the waters of the waters, and the fountains shall come forth of the house of the Lord, and shall water the valleys of Shittim. So, meaning, this, it's talking about when we're finally in charge, and we're leading this world, teaching the people the true understanding of the Most High God, right? And teaching them the laws of God, right? It says, and it shall come to pass that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with the waters of the fountain shall come forth of the house of the Lord. Because we're going to be teaching the people righteousness, and they're going to want to come and learn from us, that righteousness, because they're living in darkness in that day, right? It's going to be destruction. Right, let's get it really, really quick. Get a quick glimpse real fast. What's going on? Let's get Isaiah 60. Isaiah 60:1. It says, "Arise and shine, for the light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen on thee." Who is the thee? The Israelites. So the light is going to be on the Israelites. The wisdom and the understanding of the Most High is going to be given to us. Then it says, "For behold, the darkness should cover the earth." So the whole earth is going to be in darkness. That's why we just read that the sun and the moon and the stars should not show their light, because their wisdom and understanding is going to be stripped in that day, because they're going to be living off of instincts. They're going to be all about surviving. Trashing and surviving. Hanging in a child life. Right? They're going to be all about surviving in that day. Right? So you're not going to be, it's going to be animalistic. So it says, "For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness of the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee," the Israelites, "and his glory shall be upon thee. And the Gentiles," these other nations, "shall come to thy light, and the kings of thy brightness of thy rising." So they're going to be living like how they were living in the Book of Eli. If anybody saw that movie, The Book of Eli, just imagine that type of world, a post-apocalyptic world. Everything is very scarce. People are scarce. Everything is scarce. People are dangerous because they don't have anything. So here we come, the people of the Lord, to bring the light back to the world, to establish society and make it back great again. But yeah, make it how the Most High God just wanted it to be, set it up to be, with the Israelites being the hegemony and running everything under the government of Christ, right? So it says, let's get this real quick. Isaiah 2, chapter 2. Isaiah chapter 2. So, to further prove it, right? Because again, if those people were who they say they were, we should be experiencing some of this stuff, because they've been over there long enough. Let's start at Isaiah chapter 2, verse 1. For the word that Isaiah the son of Amoz concerning Judah and Jerusalem, it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountains of the Lord, the house shall be established on the top of the mountain. So again, we keep seeing the last days. This future connotation, this like I said, this future connotation, this like this, this heavenly, connotation, this kingdom connotation. That's the word I'm looking for. Kingdom connotation in these scriptures. And it says, "And it shall come to pass in the last day, the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established on the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all the nations shall flow into it." So talking about we're going to be the top hegemony nation on the planet. Superpower. Like how America is a superpower, we're going to be that superpower in that day. "And many people shall go and say, come ye, and let us go up to the mountains of the Lord, to the house of God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways." Because they're going to want to come and learn the true way of God. Because again, these institutions that's set up is not teaching you the truth of God. That's why we have a million gazillion religions out here. But in that day, they're going to know that the Black, Hispanic, and Native American people is who's going to get them right and teach them the right and proper way how to worship the one true God. They're going to understand that. And it says, "Many people shall say, come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of God of Jacob, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his path. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem." So they're going to be understanding that the way for them to be cool in this new world, they have to follow the Israelites and do what we tell them to do. Because like I said in Isaiah 60:12, "For that nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish." And there's going to be a lot of nations that don't want to get down. Because they have their own way of life. They have their own customs. You have a lot of secular nations, atheist nations, and they're not gonna want to get down with that. So they gonna have to be forced to or get eradicated. And it says, and he shall judge among the nations and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into prune hooks. Nation should not lift up sword against nation, neither should they learn war any more. Because when that black man by the name of Yahushua, who the world calls Christ, comes back with the millions and millions of his angels and make war with this place and destroy these nations for what they did to his people, when they see that supernatural, intergalactic, dimensional being come and establish rulership on this planet, they're gonna be like, "What the hell are we doing here? What? Let me like." They got a gun in their hand. They see that, they go like, "Drop it! Nuclear weapons up! Throw them. What we gonna do with this stuff?" They're gonna take all their weapons, and because they're gonna understand that everything, all their technology is futile to this black man known as Jesus Christ, who they call Jesus Christ. They're gonna know it's futile. We might as well just throw this stuff away. What are we doing with this stuff? You know what? Why we come over here messing with people? Just throw this stuff away. That's what they're gonna be saying to themselves. Because it says, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares. You know what? I don't know what I got this gun for, these tanks. I'm about to go to work. You know what? You're right. I'm about to go to work, master. Let me go into this field and start picking this cotton. Yes, sir, boss. I'm sorry, boss. I would never do that again, boss. That's what they're gonna be like. And it says, beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into prune hooks. Cause they be like, look, y'all got it. You know what? We thought we were masters of war with all this technology that we done created. Donald Trump is trying to make the golden dome, the platinum dome. We're gonna make the platinum dome. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be wonderful. It's gonna be great and wonderful, man. It's gonna be platinum dome. I have a missile defense system that's gonna stop all the missiles. It's gonna stop them all. But it's not gonna work, right? They're gonna realize all their stuff is futile. All of their technology fighting against this black man known as the Mashiach Yahushua. It's gonna be futile in that day, right? And it says, and he shall judge among the nations and rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into prune hooks. Nation should not lift up sword against nation, neither should they learn war any more. Because they're going to be like, you know what? We can't mess with them people. Them Israelites over there, and they got a Yahushua with them. An intergalactic, interdimensional, supernatural, all-knowing being over there. What can we do? Nothing. Then it says, O house of Jacob, come ye and let us walk in the light of the Lord. So they're going to want to learn from us because they have no other choice but to learn from us because they can't beat us. They can't destroy us. They can't conquer us. So they might as well say, you know what, just try to get along with these people. And this is called peace on earth right here. This is when we actually going to have peace on earth, when everybody decides to stop fighting everybody. Because they're going to realize what we fighting for. I mean, Christ is here. He ain't going to be going for all that fighting stuff. Right? We ain't going for all that rah stuff. We're going to have peace on this earth. It's going to be a utopia. Right? So, but we got to get rid of the bad apples. And some of those people got to go taken into slavery. Not some of them, a lot of them, all of them. According to the Bible. Right? So we understand what's going on here. So what we're going to do right here is wind it down. Make sure we hit everything real quick. Over here. So back over here. Joel, let's go to Joel 3:11. It says, assemble yourselves and come, ye heathens, and gather yourselves together hither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all heathens round about. He's going to judge them, right? And it says, jump down to 14. Multitudes, the valleys of the Sidons. For the day of the Lord is near the valley of the Sidons. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their sippings. So the wisdom and everything is going to be taken away from these nations, right? Then it says, the Lord also shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. But the Lord will be the hope of his people, for the strength of the children of Israel. Because we trust in the Most High God. We have no other choice but to trust in the Most High God. At least I hope you know that, because we have no military, we have no navy, we have nothing to stop us from getting hit by a nuclear weapon, right? Because that's what these people got. So we're gonna hope in the Lord in that day. At least I hope you hope in the Lord. Says we're gonna hope in the Lord that day. It says, and the Lord will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. So ye know that I am the Lord your God, dwelling in Zion, my people, my holy mountain. It said, my holy mountain. Then shall the Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no strangers pass through her anymore, because we're not going to ever get conquered and taken into slavery. And it shall come to pass in that day, the mountain shall drop down new wine on the hills, and the flow of the milk, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with the waters of the fountain shall come forth of the house of the Lord, and shall water the valleys of Shittim. So all these nations is gonna be, finally taught the right way, and and be instructed in the right way of the Most High God. Let's get, except for one group of people. Let's get this real quick. Obadiah 1 and 8. Because some people, it's a group of people that's not going to be here for the great change. Because, they just can't get right. You can't leave them alone too long, because they're going to, probably have relations with your dog or something. So you can't leave them too long. You gotta do something with them. If they ain't working, then they ain't worth it. They ain't working, they ain't worth it. Right? So what's going to happen to these people? Those people. Let's go to Obadiah 1 in chapter 1, verse 8. Okay. Get to Obadiah. Where's my Obadiah? See, Obadiah is a tricky book. It's only one page. Let's run it past. Let's pass it real quick. Oh, here we go. Right here. Obadiah 1 and 8. It says, shall I not in that day, said the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom? So, like I said, they're nuclear scientists, they're war strategists, they're generals, they're presidents, they're high, people in positions, high places. It says, shall I not in that day, said the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and the understanding out of the mount of Esau, right? And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed to the end that every one of the mount of Esau, so every one of the nation of Esau, may be cut off by slaughter. That's their future. So you have a group of people that will never ever, get the glory of God. They're going to go into slavery for 1,000 years. And after that, their servitude is served and get eradicated, like the Bible promised. And that's a good thing, right? Because whenever they're here, this is why the world is in the state that it's in, because they're here. And when they're not here, it's going to be great for everybody. And everybody, the earth, the Bible tells you that the earth is going to rejoice. The trees is going to be happy. The animals is going to be happy. Everybody is going to be celebrating in that day, right? So let's get real quick before we get up out of here. So back over here it says, back to Joel. It says, and Egypt shall be desolate, and Edom shall be desolate wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah. So now, of course, this is not talking about physical Egypt. It's talking about America, because America is spiritual Egypt. And the Bible tells us that, right? It tells us this right here. In the book of Revelation, chapter 11, it says, and their dead bodies shall lie in the streets of that great city, which is talking about America, which is spiritually. So it's not talking about the physical land of Egypt. This place is spiritually making up Egypt, because you look on the back of your dollar bill, they have Egyptian pyramids on their dollar bill. Why do they have Egyptian pyramids on their dollar bill? I mean, anybody familiar? I mean, America has their own pyramids here. They have their own pyramids here. Illinois has a lot of pyramids throughout the state of Illinois, right? It's a lot of pyramids that they done covered up with grass and everything, national parks. America has their own pyramids. Why do they have an Egyptian-style pyramid on their dollar? Because it says, their dead bodies should lie in the streets of that great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. Why is America spiritually called Sodom and Egypt? We know the type of stuff they were doing in Sodom and Gomorrah, right? So America passed similar laws, right? Got similar lifestyles. Matter of fact, probably exact type of lifestyle, way of living, quality of life that Sodom and Gomorrah was getting down with. Right? And it says, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where also the Lord was crucified. Right? Because, and it says the Lord was crucified because whenever the Israelites are unjustly, innocently killed, that's like crucifying Christ over again. Right? We read about that when Paul was on his way to Damascus and Christ told him the same thing. Right? So that's what's going on there. So it says, in Egypt shall be a desolate, and back to Joel 3:19. Egypt shall be desolate, and Edom shall be desolate wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. Right? And that's what they did. They killed, they unalive our people. Right? They oppressed our people. Did horrible things to our people. And it says, but Judah shall dwell forever in Jerusalem from Jerusalem from generation to generation. For I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for the Lord dwell in Zion. So God said He's going to redeem His people, fix His people up, gather us from all these different lands that were scattered through, fix us back up as a people, and redeem us and punish those nations for everything they have done to us. That's called justice, if you don't know, right? So hopefully that was edifying. We understand that we got a God that fight for us, right? The Most High God, Yahweh, fights for His people, right? And we see it. And these nations got, a judgment coming to them for what they have done to us, right? And so hopefully that was edifying, and we understand the Most High God plan to save his people. So I'm saying until next time, we out. Peace. Shalom.